Hey everyone, here is another house video. I will show you how I installed these underground vessel vase fountains. That's what I'm told they're called. There's a 15 to 20 gallon water tank basically under these fountains that I had to dig in and support with some concrete, and then of course support the pavers on either side with some concrete and rebar. I ran electric up. They run off a 110 pump. It's a magnetic pump. Did a little research. I'll show you a little bit of that on the best pump for continuously run fountains. These should run for years with literally no problem at all. I tapped into the sprinkler over here. You can see this hose right here off the head of the sprinkler runs underground and into the vessel underground and tops off the water level twice a week when the sprinkler runs. And all I do is I just throw a little bromine tab. You can see that's the little remnant. There's just a tiny little bit there left from the bromine tab. I throw one of those in maybe once a month, maybe, and it keeps the water nice and clear, keeps it looking good. Show you a view from this side. If you haven't subscribed, my next project is replacing these mist-colored pavers. I'm going to select some pavers from out here in the driveway, and I'll have to pressure wash the new pavers to get them to match the pressure washed existing pavers. But anyway, I'm going to cut in these and do my best to make it look like like they match. It's really annoying that they didn't, they just kind of shoved these pavers in. But anyway, that'll be the next project, so please subscribe if you haven't. And here's a look at the front of the house with the fountains in place. This is the landscape work that we've done. Came out really nice. But this video is going to be on these fountains, so stay tuned. I'll show you how I put them in. First thing you need to do is find a fountain. This is called Pottery Express and Bamboo Farm. It's in Punta Gorda, Florida. We did not actually buy the fountains here. We found them somewhere else that I'll show you in a minute, but I just wanted to show you, what these places look like. I mean, you get a golf cart, you drive around, and you just look at a ton of options. I kept sending pictures and sending them to my wife. We didn't like anything from this place, but we found these at a different place. So let's fast forward to another fountain shop. So here's where I ended up getting the fountains. It's called Pottery in Paradise, 4536. Do you know the address? No. Southeast 16th Place. There you go. 4536 Southeast 16th Place in Cape Coral. This place is awesome. They've got 2 units. They've got all kinds of pots and fountains and just little things. We're going to go in. I'll show you around. But this is where I ended up getting the fountains, and the owners are just amazing. They actually sourced the fountains from Miami. The owner was texting me pictures of different fountains that his supplier was sending. Here's a quick look inside. It goes all the way to the back of the building. It's like a garage style there in the back. And then this second unit over here is where I'm going to show you how these fountains go together. So you can see they got all kinds of cool stuff here. Chase is going to be our videographer, so I appreciate that. And here, I'll show you how they go together. So this is what is underground, what you see in the pictures on my front walk. It comes in 2 parts, the base and the vessel that goes underground. By far the hardest part of this whole thing is digging the hole to put this in. It's got this lip here. The lip actually serves to hold the top, but it also serves as a great space to put concrete to hold it in place. I put a piece of rebar around all 4 corners, and then really the only concrete that I used was the concrete that this area right here goes in. So got this underground, made it perfectly level, then this simply just sets right in. I don't know how many gallons this is. It looks to be about maybe 20, 15 maybe. But this sits in And you've got this little trap door here to access your pump. It's got a little U cut out for the electric cord to come through, and then of course this is where your hose comes up. Now you'll see in my photos, I wanted to cover this with rock, right? So, how's that going there? I guess it's just tight. So I wanted to cover it with rock, and I wanted the fountain to be elevated, so I built those two concrete pieces with the hole in the middle. They were actually pavers that I sloped around the edges. I did that so you really wouldn't see the rock, and I didn't want to see any of this black vessel. I wanted it to look like the water was cascading down just underground, like it was a natural spring or something. But it's very, very durable. Like I said, the hardest part is digging the hole. That's it. That's all there is to it. I just wanted to give you a look of what these pieces look like, because I didn't do that while we were installing it. Just one more quick shot of this place and all that they have to offer. Lots and lots of pots. Here's kind of fountain row right here. This is the same type of vessel fountain here that we've got. Pretty neat place. Be sure to check them out if you're in Cape Coral and you're looking for a fountain. The next thing I needed to source was rock, because I knew I wanted these fountains to kind of disappear, the water to disappear into the rock. This is called River Slicks. We're at Bayshore Concrete on Bayshore Road in North Fort Myers, and fortunately they just had enough left. This is about a half yard for me to start this project. I had to wait about 2 months before they got in another shipment, but these are called River Slicks. They're about $160 a yard delivered. First step was to figure out exactly where I wanted them and then dig the holes to get these vessels in deep enough where it would be somewhat level looking, so I wouldn't have a ton of rock to cover it, but not so deep that if we got a good rain, the dirt wouldn't overflow into them. So I ended up making them pretty much perfectly level, I think maybe just a ½ inch above the actual pavers for a reference if you do this. That was the finished grade. And then I also forgot to show you the two support columns that go inside the vessel in between the lid and the bottom of the tank. You can see them here. They kind of Lego in. I've attached them to the lid in the center of the picture there. All they do is support the weight of the fountain right in the middle. And I just completely blew it at the fountain place. I forgot that they were even in there. I just noticed as I'm looking at this picture, but that's what those are. When I dug the ground out, I realized how they install the pavers. They just kind of put a length of mud or cement along the edge to give them some stability. And when I dug that out, these pavers started to collapse. So I put 2 pieces of rebar in, just lined it up on a stone. It's really a no-brainer. I mean, this was very, very simple. And then once I got the rebar in there so that it wouldn't move, I hammered it into the dirt on either side and then just supported it with a rock in the middle. I packed it with concrete, just made the mud a consistency where you could, kind of like you were building a sandcastle. And this worked perfectly. Those pavers, it's been 6 months at least, those pavers haven't moved. If you have to dig them up for some reason, I'm sure it'll be a real pain, but this really worked perfectly. So then I got the fountains where I wanted them, and all you have to do is fill them with water to check for level, and that little shelf area really serves pretty good to do that. I can tell you they are really, really heavy when they're filled with water. So if there's any, if they're going to move, they're going to move when they're full of water. Once they are perfectly level, then I just simply packed them with concrete. I did put a piece of rebar around each side, but I just packed them with concrete and then filled the dirt in and made it level. And you can see they're about a ½ inch above the pavers, but pretty much 2 inches above the dirt. So any kind of grass runoff, I'm not going to have a problem, and it won't take too much rock to get them covered. Here the rock is being delivered, that ½ a yard that I showed you before. I ordered a different rock also because they didn't have enough for another project that I wanted to do. But anyway, here the rock is being delivered, and here we have the beginning of covering them with rock. First I just kind of layered it in there. So I needed to elevate these fountains just about 2 inches maybe, because otherwise I would have so much rock. The rock would cover the bottom of the fountain by about 3 or 4 inches unless I made it higher. And I wanted to make it so that if you could see the base, it would still be the same color as the rock, so it wouldn't be noticeable at all. And I really just ground out that contour so that the rock would lay, had the best chance of it being invisible. That's my plan anyway. Now I have to go get longer hose and then it'll be almost done. Time to put it back together. So this is the most over-engineered paver stone project. I mean, it was stupid. Once I started it, I had to finish it, but it really was stupid. I should have gone with a round one and just knocked the edge off. But you can see here, I first started by cutting the edges off of I think this is like an 18 by 18 paver. And then I scalloped out the contour. It was unbelievable amount of work. It was a total mess. This was the finished product, and this is what they look like in place. They turned out to do exactly what I wanted it to do, but ridiculous amount of work. I bought this Milwaukee trash pump or transfer pump. This thing has been really useful if I need to drain them. I recommend you get something to drain them because you're going to have to clean them out at some point. Here's what the two platforms look like in place. And of course had to drill that center hole to get the fountain hose up in. Here the fountains are in position. Here I'm starting to place the rock. I think I placed almost every rock individually just to get it exactly the way I wanted. And you can see in the back there I left that little opening to access the pump and get into the thing if I needed to. And then I just progressively kept filling it. I wanted to show you this little trap door again at the bottom that I showed you in the store. That's where it ended up. Perfect location. I can take a few of the rocks off and access the pump if I need to. Once again, it's been at least 6-7 months and I haven't had to touch anything in there. This is the bigger pump. I'm gonna just leave the bigger pump in. There's the smaller pumps, and these just make much more of a statement. You can actually hear it. But that's what it looks like. Just kind of very efficient. Disappears into the rock. Pretty neat, huh? So I went back and forth with a couple of different pump options. I wanted the fountain to be very obvious. I wanted to be able to hear it. And the first pump, it just didn't produce the gallons per minute that it needed to pump like it is pumping now. So I just went up a size. I'll put the pump that I used down in the comments. It's from Little Giant. Here I just wanted to let you listen to it. It's really a nice sound when you walk up to the house. Nice, right? Anyway, back to the pump dilemma. So in our old house, we had a larger fountain, and I bet I replaced the pump 2 or 3 times. It was a real pain. And so for these, because the pump is much harder to access, I called Little Giant and I said, hey, why is it that my fish tank runs for years and years and years and I never have to touch the pump? And the fountain pumps are just crap. And they asked me a few questions and said, well, number one, do you turn it on and off? And I said, yes. And they said, well, you shouldn't do that. And number two, is it a magnetic pump? And I said, I don't know. And they said, well, that's what you should get. So these are magnetic pumps. They don't have any touching parts. They're completely sealed, and I run them continuously. So I expect to get endless, performance out of them. Many, many years is my expectation. So here we are, pretty much done. We've mulched everything. I think I've mulched everything at this point, but clearly I have the landscape lights in, and here's a look at the mulch, looking down from the second floor. We replaced those 2 pygmy dates up in the front there. But we think the fountain color, it complements the house. We really like it. Those two palm trees there on the right, we ended up removing those after the fact and replacing them with another pygmy date. But really happy with the way this turned out. This is certainly a project that you could do. We think it's a really cool look. And if this video helped you to make a decision to do underground vessel fountains, well, I hope you give me a like and a subscribe. And as always, I really appreciate you watching.